Okay, Art 4 people, in the last video that I posted for you, I asked you to come up with some answers to some brainstorming questions. In this video, I'm going to ask you guys to develop some what are called mind maps with some of those ideas. I'm going to show you what a mind map is, and the reason we're doing it is because mind maps can kind of help you flush out all the different aspects of a central idea. So you guys came up with some answers. We're going to treat those sort of like central ideas, and then we're going to try to flush out different aspects of that idea with this mind map thing. So I'm going to demonstrate a few of them, okay? So one of the ideas was about realism. So I'm just going to put the word realism in the center of the paper, okay? And then around that, I'm going to kind of create a web of different concepts that relate to realism. So I already kind of prepared this a little bit, and I'm kind of just drawing out what I already thought about. So here you go. When I think of realism, I think of things that are complex. When I think of realism, I think of things that are detailed. I think of things that are in the correct proportion. And so I'm just kind of going around, and so this is my central idea, and I'm just coming up with other ideas or aspects of that idea that relate to it. When I think of realism, I think that it usually has some believable shadows and highlights. And then I can branch off from that idea too. And I think about how there's a light source. Think about how shadows and highlights create believable form. One of the ways to make things look more realistic, especially as a student, is to utilize the grid drawing method. It's not a requirement, but that's just one of the things that I thought about when I was thinking about realism. So there's probably more things that I could come up with when I think about realism, but that's a good start to a mind map. So I started with that central idea of realism, but then as I think about realism, I think about the different aspects that are involved in it. And that's going to help me just generate more connections with the different ideas that I come up with, okay? So another one that was part of those questions and answers was the idea of things being abstract. So I'm going to create a different mind map now. And so when I think of things being abstract, I think of them being non-representational. That's a big fancy word. And that just means that you have something in your artwork that doesn't look like anything from the real world. And so I think about what kinds of things can be non-representational. Textures, lines, shapes, and the list really goes on and on. Patterns. These mind maps can really be multi-layered, multi-tiered. They can go on and on. Just depends on how much you can think about. When I think about abstract subjects, I think about simplified forms or simplified objects. And so I think simplified objects, what does that mean? Kind of means breaking things down into basic shapes and lines. Means less detail, maybe. When I think about things being abstract, I think about all the variety of brush strokes, if it's a painting, which this will be. Brush strokes. And I also think about exaggerated. I hope I spelled that right. Subjects. So, one example was the caricature project we did last year. I could put that down too. So, some kind of exaggeration. So those are two mind maps. If I zoom out, so I started with realism and abstract, and now I've got this gigantic web, this map of different concepts related to those ideas. I could make another mind map that explores ways that I can combine realism and abstraction. I'm going to create one more mind map for you, and it's related to one of your guys' ideas. I'm not going to say whose idea it was because this is a YouTube video, but it's one of the movie genres, and it's apocalyptic. I have to make sure I spell this correctly. So apocalyptic ideas. I chose this one mostly because it's really easy for me to think about different aspects of apocalyptic ideas. I mean, I'm sure you guys can come up with them too. Maybe you're already thinking of them. So, zombie apocalypse. Think of alien invasion. So I'm basically thinking about the different aspects of, or different ideas about apocalyptic ideas. So, disease. Hopefully I'm showing you these. Should have zoomed in. Sorry about that. Robot uprising. I just thought of a whole bunch. Mind controlling parasites. Mutants. How about all the water is gone? How about it's a water world? How about the animals rebel? How about there's a meteor? Atomic bomb. Maybe it's spiritual in nature. How about maybe it's shark people? I think that's all of them that I came up with, but that's probably not all of them that could exist for sure. But so there's a lot of different ideas related to apocalypse, the apocalyptic idea that you guys came up with. You can take these mind maps and then they can be combined. So again, it's all about creating connections between different ideas. And as you do this, before you know it, maybe you have a few different ideas for your mini mural to kind of launch into that design process for the mini mural. Okay, so that's this video. In the next video or two, I will start outlining the next steps. Okay, thanks guys.